Views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And here we are, beginning a new week.
Beginning a new week. And, I got to open up with a quote. I heard this last night on Madam Secretary. And I think this describes our show and what we do as much as it describes what happened on that show last night. And that is, sometimes the stories that are written, or in this case, said or presented, are the ones that are least wanted to be known. But they're the ones that most need to be heard. And that's what we do here. We present the truth that nobody else will present. And you know what? That show really kind of energized me a little bit last night just to say, hey, you know what? I'm doing something that's right. And I'm not going to take the hate and the nasty statements and comments from the zombies and the people who can't see through the light of day. Which leads us right into Marc Dion's column. Oh, I'm telling you, he just stuck it right to them. And I'll tell you, Marc, I really believe in so much that, you are truly, on the pulse of the people, even the idiots.
Well, he's out there with the people all the time. He goes and has a beer at a local pub, and he talks to working people, and he is a working guy, and so he's kind of looking at what people are saying, and like they said, this is a quote from his article. Jason Correa is doing better than most mayors on the "oh my God, I hate him" scale, and this is because a lot of people have a big emotional investment in Jason Correa, and it's going to take a long, brutal, fact-beating before these people can say they were wrong. And that's one of the, as your phrase is, a zombie. So he's saying no matter what comes out, and no matter how ridiculous some of the things he's attempting, and how they're doomed to failure, and anybody with a modicum of intelligence could tell that, they still they'll still hang on, and that's just the way it is. And
yeah, well, it's interesting because here's the graphic that appeared with that column. And that does speak volumes. It actually speaks volumes to what these idiots are doing, and they just can't see the light again of day. And it's true. They really need to be beat about the head and body to get it through their head, to stop looking at these candidates, stop looking at these incumbents with their hot, oh, he's the savior. Oh, he's the leader of the free world. He's going to save us. He's going to bring us to fruition of love and peace. Kumbaya, kumbaya. Get real.
Yeah, well, they got to start realizing, as we've said, maybe a billion times now, we might be approaching a billion, Marc, that Fall River cannot be fixed with fancy slogans and market rate housing, which nobody will move to. We'll get to that one later on in the show because we have an article about that in the King Phillip Mill. But we've got to realize that this is a town with people with lower education levels. It's not a Newton where 75% of the residents have a bachelor's degree or higher. Most of them work in high tech. Most of them work in Boston and commute. This is not a satellite community of a major city like Newton and these other communities are, Leominster and things like this.
You mean we're not Cambridge?
Yeah, we're not Cambridge, and Cambridge is kind of a semi-city. It's almost like Boston's appendix. It's kind of attached. I mean, you cross the bridge over to Charles and you're in Cambridge. You don't see much difference, but it is a different community. But, the fact is that, of course, again, Cambridge, another community with MIT and Harvard and a whole bunch of colleges and a very high
six-figure median incomes.
A very high percentage of people with college degrees. you know, Fall River is kind of like Gary, Indiana, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's a blue-collar town. You know, we're not going to fix this city by trying to get, you know, people to move in like this is a suburb. You know, we're building these market rate housing, and we're going to pay these massive rents, which you could buy a house in this city for, or even less. And, you know, when these
$2,000 a month for
politicians,
2 bedrooms.
when these politicians run, they make all these grandiose promises, and the bottom line is this is a blue-collar town. The only way we're going to save this community is by bringing in jobs that we can actually get people back to work in. We can only get this community back by building it with a actual pragmatic approach and an objective look at the city.
I have to say this first.
What?
Stitch by stitch, brick by brick,
yeah.
line of bull by line of bull.
Well, you know, the thing is, like I said, if you look across the state line, and they've got apprenticeship programs, and they're trying to
Right.
train people in entry-level jobs, which is what the people of Fall River. And then if they get in with economies, and then you try to bring people in, and then you begin to bring people in that actually have a job, or who are going to get a job, not people that are going to come in to go into subsidized housing. And this is what we've done for years. You know, it hasn't worked for 20 years. The city progressively gets worse. And every time you see somebody running for city council or mayor that thinks we're going to get it by having a new rebranding campaign or something like that, you know, what they're doing is, you know, if you urinate into the wind, you normally get it back in your face, and that's what we've got. So, you know, the fact is that this is all garbage. Every time it's campaign season. My only thing to the people out there, our viewers, you know, vet these people very carefully. See if their plan is realistic. If they're regurgitating something that we've done, you know, 20 times, or how many times have we rebranded Fall River? Korea had Pride Citywide.
Yeah.
You know, we've rebranded this city, but, you know, as I said, lipstick on a pig doesn't work. The fact is that we've got to deal with what we've got. And until we get a mayor who's willing to realize that we can't use the city as an employment agency for his friends and keep growing the budget in salaries for his pals and spending all kinds of money taking care of his friends, he's got to save the taxpayer, and they've got to actually try to bring jobs that we can actually employ our people with into this community. Look at that. We're doomed.
I will put money, I will almost put money on this, that if Jazel does turn around and say, before the new budget comes out, that effective July 1, there will be no more purple bags, you will get every nitwit, every moron, as Bugs Bunny would say, what a maroon, what an nincompoop, okay? Go out and say, oh, you got to vote for the mayor because you got rid of the purple bags. Guess what? That's chump change. That's chump change compared to all the fees that have gone up. My water bill went up 100% since this mayor took office. And it's going up 11% again. And I was just told it's going up higher than that.
That's right.
Higher than that. Why? Because you elect a guy who wants to spend money on streetscapes, which has failed miserably. What happens when you keep doing the same thing over and over again? You're a moron.
And no, you're not more. You're crazy. What's the definition of insanity?
Exactly.
You know, you're repeating the same action,
Yeah, but
and expecting a different result. But you know, talk about purple bag. Listen, anybody who votes for him because he because he got rid of purple bags, number one, doesn't have enough. It's not even long-term memory; it's short-term memory. Because just a year ago, he's been an avid supporter of the bags.
Exactly.
Since this was implemented. So you know, obviously, if he's getting rid of something he supported through his entire political career, it's a political move to get reelected. And secondly, for the 1,000th time, purple bags and the revenue generated by the purple bags are already in the budget. They're earmarked to pay for something. Eliminating the revenue from or eliminating the purple bags does not eliminate whatever it was funding, which means something very simple. You can eliminate purple bags, but we're still going to pay for them. They're going to figure out how they're going to get it from another fee or from the tax increase. And, maybe he is going to get rid of the purple bags. With all the market rate housing that we're going to get and all the TIFs they're going to give out, they're going to end up being able to raise our taxes far more than they could have, because that is added to the tax base. And if they're not paying a tax, guess who's paying a tax? We went over that on the last show. Listen, you can't get rid of it. It's like sick people. They say, well, this plan is costing too much, so we're going to eliminate it. But what do you think those people do? They don't, evaporate. They go down to the other plan that they put them in, and they still get medical bills, and that plan becomes the most expensive plan. It's like, listen, anytime you get rid of anything in this community that generates revenue, unless you get rid of the piece in the budget that it funded, you're paying for it in another way. It's not that difficult to figure out.
Well, it is Fall River. But, I got to go on to the Politi beat from Will Richmond. Another one, for once, I'm starting to see Will's side of the story here. Same old brand, same bull. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I got to show you another graphic, because this appeared with Will Richmond's article. There's the cat that ate the canary. Right now, I'm telling you, that is definitely the cat that ate the canary.
Or is that the canary smiling with the cat looking at him?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
With that longing look, like I'd like to really eat him.
Exactly. And you know what? Here's the funny part about it. That was after the vote on Tuesday, where the mayor didn't get his way, and then Friday, he didn't get his way. All right? We've never been a major supporter of the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction. But you know what? There's a way and manner in which to do this. And the thing that the people don't understand, because they think, oh, the mayor didn't get his way. And even on the radio this morning, they were saying that this is now a weak mayor, a powerless mayor, a mayor with no authority, because even the people he appointed said to him, have the great F you, Mr. Mayor, we don't care. That was the biggest diplomatic no I've ever seen in my life, all right? And it was not a diplomatic no, it was the great F you. And the one thing people don't understand is, and I wrote about this over the weekend, the mayor can remove funding from FROED unilaterally in the next budget. And when it goes in, the city council can't do anything about it. Because under Mass General Law 44, Section 32, it says very clearly that they can reduce the budget,
but they
they can reject it, but they cannot add to it.
That's right.
So guess what? If the mayor doesn't want to fund FROED, FROED's out of business anyways, even without the RDA's approval.
Yeah, and plus he's already said that he's going to do something on his own without the city council.
Exactly.
To basically create his own entity. So, that's his MO. He's got to get his way. So if he doesn't get it from the RDA, he's going to create something on his own, and he'll fund it from funds that wherever he magically gets some more magic money, and he'll create something, but he's going to get something. So what are we going to have here if this actually becomes a reality? Are we going to have dueling economic development entities? Is it going to be Jazel's economic development team versus FROED?
Well,
is it, until, as he's...
But here's the kicker. Okay, if Jazel creates an economic development office within the city, FROED is automatically defunded by CDA. The city cannot have a separate economic development entity. And he doesn't need approval of the city council for that either. The federal law clearly states that if the city of Fall River has an economic development entity, even though one is currently being funded, hey, Mr. Mayor, maybe you should listen to this. You might want to consider doing it. He can open that office, and guess what? CDA have to say, we can't fund you because the city has one.
you know, this is a political battle that, you know, he's not gonna, he doesn't, you know, he doesn't take the hint
No.
very well, and obviously, this is not gonna go away. It's gonna, as you said, there are a lot of options not funded at all in the next budget, create your own, or do both simultaneously. But there's a lot of issues here, and the reality is, none of it helps the people or the economy of Fall River, because, you know, we have proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that, you know, their idea of economic development is bringing in large corporations like Market Basket and
Amazon.
that do not help Fall River. As a matter of fact, they have a massive negative impact on this community.
That's right.
Because they get TIFs. We pay for their tax liability because they're getting a TIF, and they virtually employ nobody from Fall River.
And
you know, what do you got? 25 people at Amazon out of 1,000? So it's like, it's absurd.
And the
you know,
worst part
Market
about it-
Basket's going to drive the Stop and Shop in the South End out of business.
Right.
Within 6 months to a year of the opening of Market Basket, Stop and Shop in the South End, which, by the way, employs many Fall River people and has been paying taxes in Fall River for a very long time,
30 plus years.
30 plus years, is going to be gone. And it's going to be replaced by a store which will not employ anywhere near the amount of Fall River people. and
Won't
will
pay
not
any
pay
taxes.
So
And
there's-
Amazon, like Market Basket, are going to utilize services from the city that they're not paying for.
Exactly.
Because police are going to be going there for shoplifting and drug overdoses and you name it, it's going to be going there. And we're going to pay for that. And they're not paying any taxes, so they're not paying for those services.
And every
then
time
you got the people in the South that go, oh, no, you can't say that. Market Basket's wonderful. I'm going to go shopping there. And when you go shopping there, you're going to put people out of work in Fall River, which is going to increase our unemployment. And again, we're going to go right back into the same vicious circle we've always been in.
Yeah, they love Market Basket because it's going to be cheaper. But the fact is, they don't realize that, look, it's not, that's not, you know, if you wanted to bring Market Basket in and have them pay taxes, well, it's a different story. If you wanted to give them a TIF that was back-end loaded rather than free at the beginning, incrementally,
Again, much
after
better.
they paid some taxes, and then they proved they could be a viable part of the community.
With a requirement for Fall River residents being hired.
Well, no, you remember, the only place on the planet that can't do that is
It's Fall River. That's right.
Because they do it in Rhode Island. You
They
know,
do
I
it in
mean,
Boston.
You know, yeah, and
They do it in
you know,
Cambridge.
you know, I mean, I'm getting tired of listening to Gina Raimondo, the governor of Rhode Island. Every other word out of her mouth is, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, but we're going to ensure that Rhode Island companies get the work.
And here's the thing. Then you've got 9 city councilors, not one, all 9 who turn around and say, we can't do that. Kenny Fiola says we can't do that, so we can't do that. No, you're just like giving away the tips thinking you're doing something. You're not doing anything but selling the taxpayer down the road. Hey, let's get to some really interesting news.
Uh-oh.
5 nuisance properties. 5 nuisance properties. They get lots of phone calls for police calls. 270 to 285th Street, owned by Dan Quintel and Roger Gamache. Those names sound awfully familiar, don't they?
Yeah, and
277 to 281 Pine Street, owned by Stephen Camara. Boy, that name doesn't sound familiar at all.
no.
1538 to 1542 North Main Street, owner Gene Medeiros. 156 Globe Street, owner Derek Furtado. And 356 Blossom Hill Road, owner Carlos Coelho. And here's the kicker.
Blossom Hill Road, that's a surprise.
I know, really. But here's the real kicker, all right? One of those property owners actually tips off their tenants prior to police raids. I wonder who that is. It has been alleged, okay?
Alleged.
It has been alleged, alleged by the police department that City Councilor Steve Camara is allegedly, again I'm saying allegedly, tipping off his tenants when the police are coming to serve warrants or to raid the property. Okay? During the conversation, the police indicated there was an ongoing investigation. This was a conversation with Steve Camara. Investigation regarding drug activity and prostitution occurring at Camara's properties on Purchase and Pine Street. Days later, with warrants in hand, police investigators raided Camara's properties. One subject of the raid would not be arrested with police alleging that Camara had tipped off one of his tenants targeted in the raid. Hey, I think that comes up to obstruction of justice.
I was just going to say, that's kind of, sounds to me a little bit like obstruction of justice, but, you know.
But this is Fall River.
You're not going to tell me these, 26 locations. I think that's a very low figure. I think that they've gotten a threshold to where, we've got a lot of places in Fall River that are problematic.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And now we're going to get on to the King Phillip Mill proposal. The line of BS that has not stopped. When this developer, Paramount Developing, was asked serious questions like, where are you going to put the parking for 90 units? There's going to be 90 units at approximately $2,000 a month in rent. For $2,000 a month in rent, you can buy a $300,000 home. For that being a mortgage. So let's just look at that there.
Yeah. Well,
now, here's the thing, okay? The president of Paramount Development Corp is Richard DeRosas. Now, he said, oh, well, we're not going to worry about the parking right now. But we're going to give you this beautiful park. Well, what about the 100-foot setback from Cook Pond? Oh, well, we've got that handled. Really? How do you have that handled? And then they came out and said, we're going to build a walkway all around the pond. And when asked by an attorney, not by a citizen, by an attorney.
Who is also a citizen.
Who's also a citizen, but an attorney who actually recorded this, and we will be having the video shortly, asked, what are you going to do? Because you need to get an easement over some of these private properties, or you need to take it by eminent domain, both of which requires payments from the city. And the mayor stepped forward and said, oh, no, you're right. Yeah, we'll have to, you're right. We'll have to look at that. And then he goes on the air the next day saying, oh, yeah, we're going to put a path around the pond. Guess what? You in the South End, I am so disappointed in many of you, including a city council candidate and including a woman who has acted as a city activist for a long time in regards to politics. But she's so far up the mayor's backside that when she walks by, you can smell the feces. Okay? This is how bad it is. You have a city council candidate who can't even ask a serious question. What good are you going to do on the city council if you can't ask a serious question now? Ask the hard questions. We already have 2 market rate proposals, one Commonwealth Landing, one at the old LB File building, both of which don't have the parking necessary for the amount of units they have, because city ordinance requires 2 parking spaces minimum for every 2-bedroom apartment or less.
Look,
and this is a highly congested area.
I'll tell you, the irony of reading this today, forget about the path that they can't build because of the easements. Forget about the fact that they can't comply with the proper parking. But let's look at this. Number one, we have yesterday I was watching national news, and there was a thing about the fire in San Francisco that killed multiple people because people could not. They were living in this place that wasn't it was really not habitable because the rents in the San Francisco Bay Area are so expensive that people, they said if you would have to make at least 100, and I think they said rents in the San Francisco Bay Area come out to about $105,000 a year just for rent. They interviewed a girl who was making $80,000 that she had to move in with her sister in order to get an apartment the size of a walk-in closet. And what does that say? San Francisco's a fairly affluent city if you look at the average income, but the poorer people can't afford it. So how in God's name do you think anybody's going to move into this place? Is somebody going to move in that can afford $2,000 a month in rent? They're going to move in from where? Newton, Westport, Swansea. They're going to move into Fall River with the crime and the educational system in chaos. Really? I mean, talk about delusionary reporting and delusionary, fixes to our city's problems. We've already got a ton of market rate housing. I'd like to see the occupancy rates of these houses, and we're going to build more. The King Phillip Mill is going to be the panacea. What is it going to do? They say in here, there will be no affordable units. No talk about affordable units. Kathy Ann Viveris, who will manage the property sale after the complex, said the deed would have restrictions to prevent any transfer to affordable. Well, who's going to go in there? I want to know, look, this community has, well, I think the statistics are going to go up, had 23% of the people in the community living below the poverty level. The average household income for a family of 4 is about $31,000. What does $2,000 a month rent come to? $24,000? So
Yes,
what
they're
does
not getting any money.
So what does that leave you? Somebody do the math. Leaves you $7,000 to pay all the rest of your bills for a family of 4. Give me a break. For God's sakes, can anybody in this community that's in government do mathematics? Can anybody in Fro-Ed actually look at numbers objectively and interpret them?
No.
This community has the lowest per capita income in the state of Massachusetts.
Stop picking on them.
And you're going to put this in and expect people to come? Oh, God. I mean, I get so tired of this ridiculousness. It's the same old crap. And you got people in the South, they go, oh, good, we're going to get a walking path. Oh, good. Oh, the building's going to be really pretty. Yeah, good. And then in 10 years, it'll burn down or it'll be derelict because, like I said, who that? If you can find 50% occupancy, they have to be people who inherited a lot of money from their parents and just got let out of a mental institution. Okay? And that's the reality.
Well, and the thing is this, with no parking spaces, not only at Commonwealth Landing, but also at the LB 5, and now at King Phillip Mill, when there's no parking on the space, on the streets, especially in the wintertime, guess what? Your fault. You did it. Nobody else. You did it. Real quick, another Massachusetts town bans the sale of water bottles and those T-shirt bags. Why? Because they increase the cost of recycling. When's Fall River City Council gonna wake up? Hello?
We don't care. We pay more than anybody else.
Exactly. But they don't. All it takes is the enacting of an ordinance. Fall River made the Boston Globe. Why? Because of our hot dogs. So that was very interesting. But I have one announcement that I have to make. I've got about 22 seconds. Many people may know Tim Gillette, Gillette's MMA. In memory of his father, Lou Gillette, I went to his father's funeral. It was a great loss to Timmy and his family. They have created at Gillette's MMA free training to any veteran and their families Mondays, 4 to 5 p.m. For now, that's the time. There will be no training. I don't believe in limitations, so if you're physically broken, just get here. We will figure it out. This is how the community comes together. So maybe we can do it now. And with that, we are done for the night.
Stay angry.
Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Wednesday.
I guess this is the Sharice dog.